Hey, I'm Mac. Welcome back to my channel. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe and consider joining my Patreon for access to new videos 12 to 24 hours early, as well as some Patreon exclusive content. First of all, if you like my amazing muscle shirt, Suns Out, Guns Out, thin rainbow line, it is from Outfit. That is with a hyphen in the middle. I did receive this shirt for free, but I'm not being paid for this. I just think that increasing LGBT visibility in the area of fitness and athletics is very important, because if you know anything about me, you probably know that I'm gay, and fitness and exercise and activity is something that I do a lot of, and it's pretty important to me. So yeah, check them out, link in the description. So today I thought that I would tell you guys about a incredible opportunity called Symmetry Financial Group. It sounds like it's going to be awesome. It was submitted to me by one of you through my Google form. Thank you for your submission. And why don't we just jump right in to the reaction? So it's going to be their basic About Us video where they tell us all about, how our future is going to be so great now that we know about Symmetry Financial Group. It's going to be fantastic. Okay, let's go.
You thought you had it all figured out. You would go to school, get good grades, land a good job, maybe get married, have a few kids, White House, picket fence. You would retire wealthy and healthy.
Nope. That actually wasn't it, and that most of that was not my plan.
The American dream. And maybe you were even well on your way. Or maybe you were just getting started. But something happened, and now you're looking for a change. So someone told you to take a look at this video.
Something happened. See what I mean? What do we always say? They always prey on people who have a vulnerability. It's not when things are going great that you are susceptible to companies like this. They have to wait until there's a vulnerability that appears. That's when they pounce. And they even said it right there. They said that something happened. And I doubt that's supposed to be something positive.
And you said, sure. That probably made them smile. And to be clear, this probably isn't what you think it is. Because what most of us think of when it comes to
Really? Because it's probably exactly what I think it is.
An insurance salesman is a briefcase, flip chart, gold chain, and being avoided at family reunions.
I would avoid anyone with a gold chain at family reunions.
And rightfully so. Most agents get their start in the industry by cold calling, going door to door, or even worse, by being forced to peddle their company's products to their friends and family.
Right, unlike anything in multi-level marketing.
And where does this get them? On average, less than $31,000 a year, with a failure rate.
I think that $31,000 a year is quite optimistic.
Of over 90%. That's not good. With him,
I would say that a 90% failure rate is once again very optimistic.
Inflation, mounting debt, rising healthcare costs, and with unemployment, foreclosures, and
yeah, see this video is from, I think it's from 2012. So it's not even talking about the current inflation and shit going on.
Bankruptcies at an all-time high. People need protection now more than ever. However, the percentage of those actually covered is less than it's ever been. Again, not good. That's where we come in. We're one of the fastest growing companies in the market today, and we're revolutionizing a 400-year-old industry. Founded in January of 2010 in Asheville, North Carolina, helping a mere 80 families, to now helping thousands of families every month. We're on a path to becoming larger than 95% of insurance companies in the United States.
First of all, I would say that growing faster than any other company is usually going to be not a good sign. There's probably a reason why the other companies aren't growing that quickly. And it's probably not just that you're better than them. It probably is that you are overextending yourself too quickly, or or you're a pyramid scheme, and so you grow quickly because that's the only way people are going to make money. Second of all, I love when they do this where they're like, we're on track to become larger than 95%. Like, okay, yeah. So basically what you did is you looked at the curve of your revenue or whatever, and then you just extrapolated. You just forecasted it forward, just like Monate does when they're saying that they're going to be $1 billion company, or like Beachbody does when they say that they're going to be $1 billion company when they still aren't, even with inflation.
Within just a few short years. And we're not even an insurance company. And operating at less than 5% capacity, we haven't even scratched the surface yet. Here's how we're sending you door to door.
I don't understand what they mean by 5% capacity. Like what? I don't know.
To find people that need our help, we found a way to bring them to you. Every day, thousands of people walk to their mailboxes and find a letter that we've mailed to them. If they like what we're offering, they'll put down all of their info, including their phone numbers and the best time to call them. And then they mail it back to us. Your job is simple. Go help the people that have asked for your help. And when you do,
I hate how they just love using the word help, don't they? Help the people who asked for your help. Okay, they filled out some shit in the mail and they probably didn't know what it meant. That, or they thought the offer looked really good because perhaps you worded it very well, and they're like, oh, like whatever. And then people don't remember what they signed up for. Yeah, so your job is actually not that simple. If it were that easy, they wouldn't be letting you make all kinds of profit from doing it. They would just be outsourcing it and having someone do it there, or having people sign them up online.
Get paid. You get paid well. So how many people do you want to help each week? 5?
Yeah, we just want to help people. Just want to help people by selling them life insurance policies and or recruiting them into my pyramid scheme. How else will I help them?
10? 50? Because now that you aren't wasting time cold calling and door knocking, you can actually spend time building your business. Using a model similar to multi-dimensional franchising, you will have access to every tool.
What the hell is multi-dimensional franchising? Okay, I typed quotation mark multi-dimensional franchising in quotation mark into Google. It did not find anywhere that phrase has ever been used. So I don't know what that is.
You need to build.
Maybe it's like franchising in like parallel universes or something. So you have a franchise here in this universe, and then you have a franchise in a universe where I'm a straight person or something. No, I'm just kidding. The alternate universe is I'm a bottom.
Your own business without the cost and the risk of doing it on your own. So here we are, in the perfect place at the perfect time. Meet Symmetry Financial Group.
Did you guys get all of that? Well, let's hear one of the success stories, okay? It says there's a success story. I want to hear about it so that I know what we can expect when we are insurance trillionaires, okay?
My name is Aaron Holub. I'm from Minnesota. Growing up, my dad was a pastor, so I kind of followed in his footsteps. I went to college to be a pastor, went 1 year at the seminary, and I wasn't sure if that's what I wanted to do with my life.
Oh, so I thought that when he said kind of, I thought that was a filler when he was saying he kind of followed in his father's footsteps. But apparently that was, no, he really kind of. He went for 1 year.
So I ended up following my wife after she graduated. I got a job being a truck driver. So I drove truck for most of my career. And
wait a minute, what were you doing for the time between the first year of seminary and then becoming a truck driver?
I didn't want to do that forever. Working for somebody else was just painful. I hated it. I felt like a slave.
Oh, did you feel like a slave? I'm sorry. Did the trucking company come up there to Minnesota and then kidnap you by, and force you into going somewhere that you'd never been before and that you had no connection to pick cotton for no money and be beaten and shit, and then have your descendants also pick cotton for no money and be beaten and shit, until finally there's a long bloody conflict to end the practice. And it's bloody because that's how badly the South was fighting to protect Southern heritage being enslavement of people. And then even after that, the practices still kind of continued through the prison industrial complex, redlining, Jim Crow, and other racist policies and police brutality. Is that what happened? So you felt like a slave? Is that what it is? Is that what it is, little white boy? I thought that you chose to become a truck driver. Didn't you? Yeah, I think you did. I think that might be a disqualifier. Like, how about this? How about when you feel yourself about to compare yourself to being a slave, how about you just think about it for a second and just stop and don't. Just stop it, don't.
Just couldn't do it anymore. So I had to do something where I could be my own boss. My first gig.
Oh, see, it really was like being a slave because all he had to do was just quit.
Because in sales was doing insurance sales with a company that does door knocking. It sounded great on when they gave me the ad from the newspaper. It was a 4-day work week, make 6 figures. And I'm like, hey, that sounds great. And I'm never home anyway, so I'm trucking.
Well, yeah, Aaron, it sounds great.
Now, so 4-day work week, I was on the road for 4 days. So I'd be at the hotel at 10 o'clock in the morning. We were there until Thursday night. So the meeting Thursday night was 10 o'clock on Thursday night. So by the time you're done with that, you're going to go home, or you're going to stay overnight another night before driving home on Friday. So Friday was like a travel day. Saturday was the family day. And then Sunday was go to church and start packing up for another week on the road.
Well, whose fault is it that you're going to church? You know that if you have another job and you go to church on Sunday, that still applies. You're not going to church because you were working for that company. Like that's kind of something that you wanted to do.
So the income was decent because I did $328,000 in production. We made 45%. So that part of it was good, but the family life was horrible. And there was any kind of advancement in that company. I would be taking on more responsibilities, which was the last thing that I wanted. So
imagine being expected to take on more responsibilities to advance in your company. Like, what kind of bullshit is that?
I started looking around, and a friend of mine told me about Symmetry. There's a gentleman that had passed away from Wisconsin in a car accident. A lot of people know who that is in our company. And I believe it was Sarah Pappas that flew up to Wisconsin to work his weeds.
Oh my God, I always call you guys vultures, but now you are literally vultures. You literal vultures. Do you hear the words coming out of your mouth, dude?
She did $25,000 in production in 3 days.
Are you actually saying this right now? Do you hear yourself talking, dude? You literal vultures. This isn't Dungeons and Dragons, right? When someone dies, you're not supposed to just be like, can I have their items?
And for me, that was like a huge deal because my average month was $28,000. She did 25.
Not because someone died?
3 days. So if she can do that much in 3 days at a higher contract level than I'm at, then what am I doing over here?
Yeah, you just gotta wait for someone else to die in a car crash, I guess.
For our family, that time bank account was totally empty. You know, my
You have a time bank account?
relationship with my wife was strained.
Was it strained because of you not having enough time, or was it strained because you wouldn't stop talking about how jealous you were of that person who took the person who died's leads or whatever?
Relationship with my kids was strained. And
pull yourself together, Aaron.
You know, when you come home and you see your kids are not responding to you the way that you'd expect a kid to, because, you know,
I would say that if your kid's not responding to you in the way that you expect, first, maybe see if your expectations are valid.
I was kind of like the stepdad, or the guy that sees him on the weekends. You know?
What are you talking about? That's not a stepdad. That's the stepdad doesn't get to see those kids. Okay, like the stepdad is totally irrelevant to that. The biological dad gets to see them at whatever times that he does. I don't know. I don't like that weekends idea though. See, my parents split it 3 and 4. It would be 3 1 week, 4 the next week, 3 1 week, 4 the next week. Although that was kind of like my decision too. So, because I was just like, no, that's bullshit. We're not doing this weekends thing. That's stupid. I have 2 parents. But yeah, I think you don't know it. Do you not know what a stepdad is? Like,
you know, and that's not the relationship that I wanted to have with my kids or with my wife. So, I saw Symmetry as a way, and what it's been able to do for our family is to give us that time back and to build those relationships again. You know, I would have never had time to coach my kids' 9-year-old baseball in the past. I was able to do that this summer, and it was awesome.
I mean, you know, there's other ways to connect with your kids.
You know, we stressed about money all the time before. It was like every month, you know, we're gonna be able to pay our bills. And now there's extra money in the bank, and it keeps on growing month after month, and it doesn't stop, and it's not gonna stop. It's gonna keep getting better. To me, SFG life is having freedom, and this is all about freedom. Time freedom, money freedom, and have that flexibility.
I'm sorry, but didn't he say that he was selling like $320,000 in production, right? So theoretically, if you're a salesman, it was basically, couldn't you choose to work less if you're already satisfied with the amount of money that you're making? Like, couldn't you do that? I mean, I could be wrong. Like maybe they have like requirements or quotas or something, but I would think that if you're making that much money, if you are okay with, you know, making a little bit less, I would think that you could maybe be on the road less often, you know? So I don't know. To me, it sounds like you were choosing to be away from your kids. I don't know, Dave. I mean, Aaron. I meant Aaron.
Before coming here, my time account was broken, and then my bank account was broken, and I needed to fix both of those.
What are you talking about? I thought that you said that you made $320,000 and that you got to keep 45% of that.
Coming here, I was able to fix the bank account. My wife's is...
What was wrong with your bank account when you were making approximately, if you're telling the truth here, $160,000 a year?
You know, stress-free on that part of it. Our time is really freed up to be able to pass that gift on to other people and share that with them so that they can...
Yeah, so see, here I believe he has slipped up. He's not talking about life insurance. He's talking about recruiting people to also become life insurance salesmen.
Be successful too.
Or saleswomen. Or salespeople.
That is more rewarding. It's far more rewarding than any personal success that I've ever had. To be able to watch someone else grow. mentor other people to a level that is higher than what I'm able to do. It's awesome. It's exciting.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe have some prepared notes next time that you're going to give an interview, because that was not great. Not great, Aaron. Not great. Not impressed. What the fuck with that? Like, he's like, oh, this one person died and we got to get their leads. We made like $25,000. Okay, do you want to, Aaron, would you like to hear yourself telling that story and then maybe see if you want to re-record this? I don't know. What the fuck? That's how these people think, okay? That's a success story. He was like, wow, that person died. That person got their leads. They made so much money. Success. So now that we know that this company totally has a lot of really great wisdom for us, why don't we go ahead and see more about the founders we're going to take a listen to their podcast, which does have a video component, and they're going to teach us, it says that this episode is about time. So, I could really use a refresher on general relativity. So let's go through it. And I'm going to be eating these grapes right here because it's me, and snacking on fruit is what I do. At least it's not a Apollo burger this time. So let's continue. Let's go. It's time for lunch and whatnot.
Let's get to what we're going to call the main course, right?
Not the salmon? We already had that?
Yeah, after the salmon.
Oh.
The whatnot part.
Okay.
Where we, try to just kind of dig into some questions.
Wait, so is the podcast called Lunch and Whatnot, or is it called The Main Course? You're not a food company, right? Thought you were life insurance. It should be called like the actuarial table or something. Or like lunch at the actuarial table, or like flim flam hour, or scammer hour, spam with scammers. That's what it should be. I'm so stupid. If I had $1 for every straight man I've met that leans way too much on the crutch of the word whatnot, I would have more dollars than this company. Also, I'm just mesmerized by the array of beverage choices here. So I believe we've got a Mountain Dew Code Red. We've got is that Pellegrino? It appears to be some vodka there. And I'm so confused. Mostly by the Mountain Dew. Well, not really.
We like to put some feelers out there before the show, and we put some feelers out, asked what you guys want to talk about, the questions you have, and some of the things we saw in those questions a lot of them were related to time.
Yes.
The subject of time. So the theme of today's show, the main course, is going to be about time. I don't know if you guys have a couple of questions you want to throw to us around that subject.
We can go to our producer. See if Lindsay has a question for us.
All right, question number 1. Can you talk about how time...
Why is this person talking when we can't even hear them? Now you're going to have to repeat the question again, I bet. And then it's going to be annoying. Like, this entire part here is a waste of time. And you're talking about time management. The irony.
And the value you place on time has influenced symmetry and quality.
Okay. Can you talk about how time and the value you place on time has influenced?
That was a really good question. We'll be glad to answer that.
How did time come about? What were we thinking about with time when it came to developing symmetry in the systems and quality, right?
Yeah. So let's get into some of that.
Yeah. I think when most people are starting a business or they're entering a career, the obvious focus is money and how can I make more money. And if you talk to most business owners, they'll tell you that there's a lot more importance around the time aspect. And just kind of thinking about last night, and it's really kind of sad to think of it this way, but what is the most important thing that people want? Well, if you're sick, you want more time.
Yep.
Right? What do we take away from people if they do something really bad? What's the ultimate punishment?
You go to jail.
You go to jail.
Yep.
You lose time, right? And so when we were wanting to start the company, we knew that what we wanted was probably what most people wanted.
That's right.
And it's a combination of both of those things,
Yep.
but we all know people that have great jobs and make a ton of money, and they just seem miserable. They don't have much time to enjoy it.
Yeah, that was it. And that's, in a way,
I'm sorry, but if you are thinking that starting your own business is going to give you more free time, you are sorely mistaken. That's like the biggest time suck that there is. That's going to take way more of your time than any job ever could. That's not how it works, man.
kind of, you know, what sparked us to start this company. And so it is an important subject. I think it's a good one to start with. You know, when we started this company, we really took kind of a big step back. Stephen Covey has a good quote, something to the nature of begin with the end in mind. And I think that's such a healthy kind of question for everyone to ask themselves before they get into something around work. Mm-hmm. And we did that. You know, we sat down and we said, what is the end result we're really trying to go for? And let's start with that and then work backwards. Too many times I think people kind of go down the road thinking they know what the end result is that they're going for, and not really realizing that's not really in the end what's going to create a certain level of happiness and fulfillment and contentment. And so they start chasing the wrong things. And for us, it was like, let's establish the end first. The end, like Brandon said, for us was we wanted to make money, but we also didn't want to trade that money all the time for time. We didn't want to always trade our time for money. We wanted a healthy balance of money and time.
Yep.
And that's a big and.
Okay. They always say this. These people with these companies, they always say, don't trade your time for money. Don't trade your time for money. Okay. You're always in some way trading your time for money. Like if you own your own business, you're still trading time for money. And in fact, you're going to be trading a lot of time because that's just how it is.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because what most people do, because they don't understand how money works, is they start trading money for time. And if you're always trading one for the other, how do you ever really kind of get both?
I don't think I've ever heard someone say it in reverse, though. He keeps saying it in reverse.
And like you said, we just kind of took a hunch with Symmetry and said, chances are, if money and time, from a very broad sense, is what we're driving for when we get up and we go to work every day, chances are it's probably what most people want too.
You're a fucking visionary.
Or at least the majority.
If they would be educated to know that that's even a possibility, and that's part of the biggest
tricky
problem,
part, right? And so that, you know, there's been a couple books I think that have shaped certainly my outlook on work and money, and I think for both of us have shaped really the company. One of those books was an educational book around money and time.
And I think we have a graphic, and we'll show it in a second, but it's really around Kiyosaki's book, Cash Flow Quadrant. That book, and there's a few others, I think when we probably read that book about the same time, completely shifted the way I thought about work and what I was actually going for. And I see heads nodding out there too. It's probably a book that should be taught in school at some point. Absolutely.
They don't teach a lot of things in school, and they definitely don't need to teach that in school. Jesus Christ.
How money works, the different types of money, how it's related to your time, how it's related to that balance. And so if we have that graphic, let's show it, because I think it's important to kind of break it down.
Yeah, let me say this too. You know, we actually used this as a big part of the way that we were building the company from an actual hands-on recruiting standpoint. Yeah. Like Friday, we would bring in new recruits to the home office. Edward Pritchett was one of those. Brian Delaney were one of those. Matt and Brad Smith eventually were one of those as well, where not only would we break down the business and how the business works, but we'd actually take 15 to 20 minutes to educate people on this, which is arguably the most important thing. And maybe we should take a little responsibility that we haven't broken this down and talked about it quite enough, because I think everyone needs to not only understand this to determine where they're going and what they're looking to accomplish, but also how to teach it. Because if you want to really explain symmetry, the value of symmetry, who we are, what we actually do,
it's an important component.
This is the most important part of it. Break this down.
So the basics of it, and Kiyosaki, there's so many people that teach this really well. And if you have not read Cash Flow Quadrant, I would highly recommend reading that book. The fundamental difference in the left side of this quadrant and the right is the left side is linear income, or what we usually just refer to as temporary. The right side is leveraged and residual income, or another way to say it is permanent. So Brandon, if the left side is temporary and the right side is permanent, and you had the choice, which would you choose every single time? Would you rather earn your money in a temporary fashion, meaning if I do something once, I get paid once, or in a permanent fashion where I do something once and I continue to generate income from that? Which would you choose?
You're always going to choose the right
Which would
side.
you guys choose? Like, if you poll, probably not 100% of the audience is going to say, I would rather have my income earned on the right side. And the question I would have is,
Yeah, maybe you would rather have that, but it doesn't mean that you have the option to do it. I mean, just because you recruit someone into your pyramids doesn't mean that they're going to stay in it very long. You still have to keep recruiting people because people drop out.
why is it that 98% of the country earns pretty much 100% of their income on the left? And there's a lot of reasons why, and we don't want to get into it today, but
don't ask an obvious question as a rhetorical question if you don't want to get the real answers to it. Because the reason that most people can't own a business is probably because they don't have the money to invest, or they don't have the resources available to begin the work with their business, because they have to continue earning money at their current job because they can't afford a period where they're running in the red.
I think education, we talked about that, is certainly one of them. I've read this book. I was never shown this in school, where money come from and what different types of money, right? So I mean,
yeah, maybe that's just because it's really obvious. Like, I don't think that people I don't think it's that people don't understand that you don't have to have a job. You could own your own business, or you could be self-employed, or you could invest. It's just that people don't have the resources, or they don't have the ideas to do those other three, or it's just not right for them at this time, or maybe they don't want to put in the time that's required to be a business owner. Because if you're an employee with a pretty decent job, like my job, for example, almost every week I only have to do 40 hours a week. Whereas as a business owner, that's very unlikely that you're going to ever have a week where you only need to do 40 hours a week, because everything needs to get done, or else you're not making money. So perhaps they don't want to put in the time requirement, or maybe they don't have the financial resources for it. Maybe they don't have the technical skills they need for doing that. It's not that they have never heard of being a business owner. It's just that that's not an opportunity that is available to them.
education is certainly a big part of it, but there's certainly things also that keep people from moving over to the right side. Risk, or perceived risk, is one of them. Maybe investment, that kind of thing, to get to play on the right side. But again, left side is temporary, right side is permanent.
Right, because a business that you own is just permanent. It can never fail, ever. Everybody knows that. In investing in things, you always make money. You never lose money, ever. It's just, you never lose money. And if you're self-employed, you can never make anything that continues to earn you money. That's not possible. Nobody's a YouTuber.
So the beautiful part about Symmetry and what we do is we all start on the left side of the quadrant in the self-employed quadrant, right? And I can't think. I'm not trying to bash the S quadrant here, because the S quadrant is our ATM. You know, that's where we go out and we generate the money that we need to potentially transfer into the right side of the business, the right side of that quadrant. And I can't think of a better self-employed way to go out there and earn a living than to do what we do with our insurance products.
Absolutely. I don't think we offer it enough times to people that are maybe trying to bridge away from the E quadrant, right, to get down to the S quadrant. So it's the perfect way to move from one to the other, because I can do it part-time. I can get started if I need to replace $20,000 or $30,000 of income. I can do that fairly simply in the self-employed quadrant. That would maybe give me enough confidence to be able to take that leap.
That's right. But again, the fundamental difference on the right side is that it's permanent income. And the reason why it's permanent is because of leverage. And so there's two ways that you have leverage on the right side of the quadrant. As you can see on the business owner side, what you're leveraging is time. You're leveraging other people's time. On the investor side,
do they release this as an audio podcast as well? Because imagine trying to just listen to this.
You're leveraging your money. Your money is working for you. Okay. The business owner side, when you think about that leverage, you know, a lot of people will say, well, there's only 40 hours in a week. If you're a business owner and you have 10 people working with you and they're all putting in, let's call it 8 hours a day. There's no longer just 8 hours in a day. There's 80 hours in a day outside of my 8 hours.
Yeah, most business owners are going to be putting in a lot more than 8 hours, unless we're talking about a corporation that has shareholders or something. You don't get to just own the business. You also have to work, and it's not going to be 8 hours. The fact that you would suggest that is laughable.
The leverage is such an important component. Leverage is the way you move from temporary income to permanent income.
Yeah. Okay. So I see that you have here people work with you, and I'm assuming you mean for you, or through you, on the business owner side, and you have that as equaling dollars. And I'm assuming that means dollars coming in. You know that for things that aren't multi-level marketing, when people work for you, you do have, that's also money going out. In fact, that's one of your business's biggest expenses. Or if it's usually the business's biggest expense, usually about 25% of your revenue is going to be going to paying those people.
Okay. And so when we talk about Symmetry and everything that we kind of do behind the scenes with Symmetry, we always have this in mind, because what we want for our people, again, is what we wanted, which was the ability for our income not to always be tied to our feet. So let's create an actual system that allows people to bridge from the left to the right. So a lot of times people say, what is Symmetry? Is it an insurance agent? I think Symmetry in its purest form is a business system. The product we sell is insurance, but Symmetry is a system that you can leverage to cross. Show the next slide, if you will, because this kind of shows you. Symmetry is really just a bridge that allows you to move from the left side of the quadrant to the right, if you want. If you want to stay in the self-employed quadrant, there's certainly ways you can earn a great income as an employee or as a self-employed person.
Absolutely.
Invest the surplus into the I quadrant and move to the right. So totally fair game there too, but Symmetry from an agent standpoint really is about showing you how to make a very good income in the S quadrant and then giving you a system to leverage. And again, on the left side is that save yourself stress, time, energy, money. All of the things that go into hiring people and getting people to a point where they can sell insurance and earn a decent income. There's a lot that goes into that. Most of that's on the right side here.
Yep.
You have to have the main ingredients first of all, and the first few things are the main ingredients. We talk about the Pareto principle, right? 80-20. 20% of my activity is going to produce 80% of the results in my bank account.
Here's the problem with the Pareto law, is that while it's true of some things, it's not always true. And it's one of those things that gets repeated so often that people just accept it as true. Like if you just phrase anything as being an 80-20 ratio, people will just accept it as being accurate when it's not accurate a lot of the times. In fact, one of the common statements of it is that 80% of your customer or 80% of your sales come from 20% of your customers, which for most businesses is not true.
So the first thing we did when we started Symmetry is we said, what are the 20%? What's the 20% for us? What is it that we're doing with that 20% of our time that's actually producing 80% of our income? And it was sitting in front of clients, and it was recruiting. Those were the two main activities.
Oh, recruiting.
And so there's certain ingredients that are involved to make sure that you guys can do that most of the time. We just said we want to flip the equation. Instead of you spending 20% of your time on the 80% of the result stuff, let's get it to the point where you can spend most of your time, if not all of your time, on that high net worth activity. And
high net worth activity? Don't you mean high profit margin or something? Also, what you're describing is not really what you're is not really matching what you're describing as being your concept of a business owner. Because what I'm gathering from your concept of a business owner is you're thinking of it as someone who just owns the business and then a bunch of people work underneath them, which is not most small businesses, by the way. But even if that were the case, that type of business owner, quote unquote, would not really be doing things like sitting in front of clients and recruiting.
that's why you got to have, it's like baking a cake, right?
Yep.
If you're going to go out and sell a lot of insurance, you need some of the basics. You need top rated carriers, and you need a bunch of them. You can't just have one or two. I can't sit in front of a client and say I have the best thing for them when I'm only selling one or two companies. I need a variety. I need some things that can't be a one size fits all type thing. So we need access to top rated carriers and contracts, proprietary products within that. We need a bonus program. There's got to be a certain level of motivation when I hire an agent, because if not, I've got to create some of that internal motivation. But since Symmetry comes in and says, here's the bonus program, all of you guys get to leverage that. It doesn't cost you money, but that creates a lot of movement, right? Same thing with some of these other things. Passive income with QMS.
Yeah, that's a big
Right?
one. You know, so many of the things that we've tried to roll out with the evolution of your company have all centered around time and how to create time. So it's a simple question, right? If you could make systematized income of $50,000 by doing next to nothing,
Yep.
or you could have to do everything to make $100,000, which would you choose? Some people say, I have more time. I like to work a lot. I want to do this to make all of it. I like to say, if it's systematized, I'll take half, because that means it's duplicatable. And if it's
Absolutely,
duplicatable, give me a couple of months, and while you're working your butt off to make the 100, I'll be
Yep.
working on the systems to make 150.
That's right. Incentive trips.
What is they just talk a bunch of nonsense because it's not a real business. It's just a pyramid scheme.
Conferences, training, culture and community. Think
That's
about
amazing.
think about you having that system to leverage around that, and how hard that is to create. And we know, staring at some of you guys that helped us start the company, it's incredibly hard to create a community and a culture that's actually attractive. And when you're talking about
Yeah, it seems like you still haven't gotten that yet, but I'm sure you will one day. Wasn't this episode supposed to be about time?
leveraging other people's time and having a system to do that, recruiting is just very simply an attraction, right? Hiring is an attraction. I need to attract people to me, but also more importantly, the company. And I think that's sometimes overlooked as such an important part of the system, is the culture and community aspect. What about when I onboard people, the ability to actually have a system, a universal system that gets them making money, so that I'm not having to spend time each and every time with one of them training them on how to either sell a policy, or more importantly, how to develop as a leader. That's some work. And that's why you see Impact, Thrive.
Wow, but they always talk about how you will be led by the best and that they'll hold your hand and stuff. Now you're acting like you don't want to do that. What's the deal, man? I thought this was I mean, it's like, this is so disorganized and unfocused. This is not really reflecting well on you as a company.
Connect. That's our leadership development platform that everyone gets to leverage to actually help you guys bring people up as leaders in the company, right? Now, the question I would have if I'm outside listening in is like, well, that all sounds good, but is it working?
That was not the question that I had.
And we can confidently say it's working. Yesterday we had our national call. We introduced 4 new agency owners.
Yeah.
So we introduced 4. Just if you don't know what agency owner is with us, that's $50,000 a month at a minimum of production in the insurance space. Which, if you boil that down, it's probably around $50,000 of leveraged passive income annually at a very minimum. That's what it takes to become an agency owner with us. So in 11 years, what we're seeing, I don't know how long it took us to even have 10 agency owners, but right now we're averaging
4 years. Every
single week we promote a new agency owner in our company. It's probably more like 1.3. Last month, not October, the month before that, I think it was 8 or 9 agency owners that we promoted.
This is a big month.
And historically, when we look back at the growth trends also, the majority of our agency owners show year-over-year growth. So when we talk about Symmetry being that bridge, it is that. And a lot of people are crossing that bridge. And as we evolve as a company, we're going to continue to lean in and invest in the system to make sure that bridge is paved as smoothly as possible. And, the end result being what we're all driving for, which is a balance of money and time.
Yeah, and Symmetry is really, when you really think about it, not only is it in that B quadrant, but it's also in the investor quadrant. Because yes, you're a business owner, but so many of them are investing back into things within Symmetry.
Yep.
And we always tell people, because a lot of agents and agency owners come in and they're making way more money than they ever thought possible.
Yep.
And so they start dabbling in kind of other things or investing in other things, and that's, you can certainly do that. You're going to be hard pressed to find something that yields the return that investing in a Symmetry, kind of creating a base shop, creating a new agency owner, investing in your own business. You're not going to find anything
Never
that matches
anything
that.
like it. Yeah.
No.
But congrats to all the new agency owners this past month.
Yeah.
Four brand new ones, all getting a taste of that passive income. And the goal is we want to show you that, but then we want you to leverage that system and show others how to do that. And when you do that, then the return is also there.
Absolutely.
I
think there was another great question that we wanted to come back to on this too. Lindsay.
Do I say it again?
Yeah.
On time?
It was on time, yep.
I'm newer to the business, so I'm trying to divide my time between building an agency and being in the field. How did you guys manage your time when you were starting out?
How do you manage your time better when you're kind of riding 2 horses?
That's a tricky one.
A little bit, right? You're in the field. You're trying to build an agency, which takes a lot of coaching, mentoring, recruiting, training. You're in the field, which takes a lot of dialing. You need to be booking appointments. You need to be sitting with clients. You need to make sure those clients are protected.
Yep.
Those policies are getting approved. And I think, I'll start off by saying one of the things that we see probably too often is people pulling away from their, what we kind of refer to as your ATM to build your business, which is being in the field. People pulling away from that a little too quickly, right? They start making a great income on the business side, passive income from their agency, but they kind of stifle their growth because pulling.
Oh, you mean it's common for people to stop selling products and to start building a team?
Out of the field a little too early means that I can't then reinvest in more infrastructure, more staff, more any of the things that are really going to help me leverage the system. Yeah. So
that's a good one.
What's a good?
Now let's just get one thing clear here, because with how they've been talking about agency owners and stuff, it could get a little bit confusing here. Make no mistake, okay? It's not a franchising thing or whatever. It's an MLM. They're trying to make it sound like it's some sort of franchising or like brokerage thing or whatever. It's not. It is. It's an MLM. It's a pyramid scheme. So just in case anyone is getting confused by the terminology that they're using. I think agency owner is just one of their top ranks.
And having a schedule. I struggle with that, when I first got into this business, because I was a plumber's assistant and I had a place to show up to every day. It was 9 to 5, and
crappy places to show up to every day.
Yeah, there was a lot of that too, for sure. Yeah. But I'd never had quote unquote freedom of schedule, and it was tricky for me. I remember my first week out, I sat in front of a bunch of appointments and made $2,400. And it was about maybe 20 hours worth of work. Made some phone calls, booked some appointments, went out, sat with the families, made $2,400.
Yeah.
I was like, man, if I can do that every week, that's going to be $100,000 my first year. And second week I went out, goose egg. And if I'd really kind of think about it,
did you actually go out?
Gosh, it's almost like you exhausted all of the, warm or hot leads that you had in that first week. It's almost like that first little rush of sales doesn't tell you anything about how the rest of it's going to go, does it now? Because you're going to be going after your easiest customers first. The friends, family that you can pressure into buying your product. But all the people after that are going to be a lot more difficult of a sell, aren't they?
Probably not. Yeah. It was my schedule. I said I was working, but I really wasn't. I wasn't used to kind of that discipline for myself, and I think a lot of agents struggle with that, because you're in the S quadrant. You're self-employed when you start here, and if you don't have that ability to kind of discipline yourself, then what's that saying? You live with the pain of discipline or the pain of regret.
Yeah.
I lived with the pain of regret that second week with a 0. Thankfully, I kind of learned through mentors in the business, through books, like the importance of man, you don't wake up on a Monday morning and ask, what am I doing today?
No,
you don't wake up any day,
you
right?
You don't wake up any morning not knowing what you're going to do. But, there's certain pieces of the business that have to be kind of sacred times, right? Like, nothing's going to get in the way of me reaching out and calling my leads, and if I'm going to put in 250 to 500 dials, depending on how many leads I have, depending on how many appointments I want to run, depending on how many people I want to help, et cetera, then I have to know very clearly, when are my times that I'm making those dials? When are my times that I'm talking virtually to the clients to sell them? When are
500 phone calls? That sounds like that. If that's probably what my hell looks like.
my times that I'm going to be looking at my pending business, and this is assuming that it's all on me, right? When am I going to be recruiting agents? When am I going to be, one of the most important things, when am I going to be working on myself? And so one of the things.
So you got to do 250 phone calls, and then you got to recruit some agents, right? Well, Jesus Christ, so much for that time freedom. If you did those 500 calls in your supposed 8-hour day, that's what, 63 calls an hour? Whew. If you don't take any breaks, that should be fun. See, you guys, it's so simple. It's so easy. It's so flexible.
That we did early on is we would just take a calendar, and it would say Sunday to Saturday, and we would highlight in exactly what times we're going to be doing what things.
Non-negotiables.
We had the non-negotiables like conference calls. We started with.
Oh my God! Imagine making a schedule for when you're going to work.
I need to plug in to this weekly meeting. I need to plug into this conference call or these conference calls. Those are highlighted in a certain color. I'm going to be making my dials at this time. Meredith and I would make our dials every Saturday morning.
They made a calendar and highlighted it in different colors, and they think they're fucking brilliant.
I would start Thursday night, and I would be running appointments Monday, Tuesdays when we were in the field. And then she and I were both in the office Saturday mornings, no matter what, from 9 o'clock to noon. And if I had to keep going past noon to get my 15 appointments, I had to keep going past noon to get my 15 appointments, right? But we weren't taking phone calls to do other things. We weren't, it didn't matter where we were. If we were going to a wedding, if we were going to do something else, those were our times that we were making dials.
That's tricky.
What happened to the time freedom?
Too. I remember hiring an agent very early on in this business, and he did fairly well, and then he would struggle for a little bit. And I remember talking to him one time, and I said, I was trying to diagnose what was going on, and I remember him telling me earlier that he never missed a day of work at his previous employer. He had never missed a day in like 10 years.
Like perfect.
He worked like 6 days a week, like long hours, never missed a day. And I remember going, take me back to that, right? Like, you never missed a day in 10 years, but you missed a week here because I can't remember what the excuse was. It was a pretty good one, actually.
Sure.
And I was like, that's kind of understandable.
Yeah.
But nothing like that happened in the 10 years that you worked for that company, and you never missed a day. You never had a sickness in the family that you had to kind of tend to. Like, he was like, man, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
Like, if you wouldn't do it at a job, then you can't do it here. Freedom is an earned thing. You have to.
Oh, see, this whole time I thought that they were going to give us time freedom, but it seems that once again it's the little carrot on the stick. It's going to come later. You're going to earn it later. You have to earn it first. You have to do the work. Okay, you need to do the work. You're not doing the work. Nobody's working. You took a week off because someone was sick in your family. Well, too bad, because we have so much time freedom available for you, like later, just not right now. Like, but then later you can have your carrot. Okay. So just make sure nobody gets sick right now, because we have so much time freedom for you. It's coming right up. But not yet. Okay. Gotcha. Cool. So much for that, huh?
To put in the time, and what you'll learn is freedom is in the schedule. When you have a schedule and you stick to it and you put the things in there that are important to you as non-negotiables, not only the things that make you money, but the things that are important to you, then there is freedom in that.
Yeah, because we're creating routines.
Yep.
We as humans love routines, which means that we're creating positive habits, which means that we can yield the same result because we're going to have consistency in our performance week after week and really hour after hour. I should know.
Didn't you literally just tell us that you got $2,400 in 1 week and then you got $0 the next week? And now you're telling us how your results are going to be consistent week after week? First, it was all about time freedom. Now it's like, no, you have to earn your time freedom. Then it was, oh, well, I made $2,400 1 week and then I made $0 the next week. But your results are going to be really consistent. Which is it, guys?
And the guys that are on the call with us or on the webinar with us right now, I guarantee if you were to look at their calendars, they know exactly what's going on
to the 15 minutes.
To the 15-minute mark, right? And
I would like to know how often that schedule ends up being what actually happens, because life doesn't work that way. Life doesn't work in a way where you can plan it down to the 15 minutes.
And the people that don't, you can always kind of tell what's going on because they seem to always be on a little bit of an emotional roller coaster. Like, hey, I got paid. And then, oh, no, I got charged back. Hey, I got paid. And that's the worst thing possible. Like, if you get consistency in performance, you'll have consistency in your emotional stability. And if you want to build a business, or even if you want to be a good salesperson, you better have consistency in your emotional stability.
That's right.
If you don't have that,
it's going to be tough, it's not going to be fun. You can make $100,000 a year, and the emotional toll it can take on you because of the way you earn that $100,000 can be a nightmare. I would rather earn 50 or 40 or whatever it is with some consistency than be on that roller coaster, because what I noticed about my roller coaster journey when I first started, when I was trying to manage that discipline, was my emotions were attached to it. Right? And it was a vicious cycle because I would let my bank account dictate my activity level. And therefore it would kind of come back and that would affect my emotions. And the problem with that is when you're not feeling great, that's not when you want to go out and be trying to help people.
It's a vicious cycle.
Like, I'm a better salesperson when I have money in the bank, and I have money in the bank because I'm consistent. So it just
What the hell are you talking about?
Consistency breeds emotional intelligence, or not emotional intelligence, emotional stability. Emotional stability gives
I thought we were talking about time.
you more sales, right? It's a cycle. So I think another healthy habit that we did, and we kind of talked about earlier with the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, is just the exercise of thinking about what are the things that are important that you do that earn you the most amount of money. And what are all the other things that get in your way of doing just those activities? And I can remember sitting down with Sarah very early on and saying, okay, what am I really good at that actually makes us money? And again, for a lot of people listening in, it's probably sales. It's probably, your ability to connect with people, get in front of people, relationships.
I would say that if you're a salesperson and sales is only 20% of what you're doing, there might be a problem.
If you're building a business, it's recruiting, it's interviewing, it's leadership development. And how can we just get me to do that with all of my time? It's not that those other, so we can maybe categorize them as administrative sometimes. Those things are just as important. They have to get done. Your business will wreck without them. But is there a way that my spouse or the cash flow that I'm creating from being consistent, I can actually bring an assistant in and bring someone in to help me with those things to drive that hourly net worth up? Because I think about that a lot. I think about, man, we all have the same amount of time in a day, right? Edward Pritchard's got the same amount of time as the agent that was just hired, last week. What is Edward doing with his time? And most of it is like the time he's spending is on those high hourly net worth stuff. He's figured out how to kind of ditch the rest of it. And
we do not all have the same amount of time in a day. Trust me, I have way more time than someone who has kids, for example, or someone who is rich has way more time than me. That's just the way it is.
And delegate and get it off the plate. And that comes full circle back to your point about our philosophy and our style when we were building Symmetry was to be very heavy in the field and pay for the system, pay for the recruiting, pay for a staff person to help us get interviews. Because
pay for the recruiting? What?
The trick to time management too, especially when it comes to building a business, because planning that B quadrant is tough. Because when you really think about it, it's not instant.
Absolutely,
you're putting in work into tomorrow.
You have to have a lot of faith.
It's a faith-based work in that I'm putting work in today that I don't really see the return for maybe 120 days out. And so what we had to learn to do is take that excess cash flow and kind of back ourselves into a corner in the way of like, man, I have an assistant now. And that assistant has a marketing budget of $1,500 a month. And that $1,500 a month is making the phone ring and making the emails light up for possible interviews. Now I have 8 interviews scheduled, every single day, 3 days in a row. And it would have been easier for me just to go play golf or ride my bike, but we kind of call that stuff forced commitment.
Yeah, that's how that works. Also, that was real subtle there. Did you notice that was sort of implying that $1,500 plus an assistant is a reasonable amount for you to invest into your Symmetry business? Wasn't it? It was. There's a real subtle implication there.
Make the investment, you create some structure around it, back yourself into a corner to make sure that you're spending a certain portion of your week working on the left side of that quadrant we just talked about.
Yeah.
Is that the left? No, sorry, the right side of that quadrant. Because if you spend all your time working on the left side of that quadrant, the income won't come on the right. You have to start putting in X amount of hours a week onto the right side of that quadrant, the permanent side. And if you do that long enough, pretty soon you'll be like some of these guys I'm looking at right here, where now 100% of their income comes on that right side of that quadrant. But it's about time management.
Yeah.
Fuck. What? What?
I think of Marshall Whalen, and a lot of times I'll call Marshall and he's like out on his boat.
Yep.
And whether it be FaceTiming or I can hear him, and he's done so much work on the front end to know that where his time is best spent right now is Coaching, mentoring, building relationships. The beauty of it is you can do that on a boat, can't you, Marshall? You can do that anywhere you want to, buddy. It's not like you're out there having to book appointments. But I think where people kind of struggle with this is we've talked about pulling out of the field a little bit too early. Yep. Or, there's some pitfalls, right? They maybe come off of what they were doing. They were doing $10,000 a week in production. Now they're doing $5,000 a week in production. They haven't taken the time to either hire a staff person or create some infrastructure and some systems, or even worse, they hire staff people, but they don't take the time to train them and get them good at what they're doing, right? So if you don't have a staff person, we always say that you are, and the problem with that is that as salespeople, we're usually not good at that kind of work. And so what ends up happening is we're taking away from the profitable activities that you're talking about. We're doing things that we're not good at and that are also not making us money. So stay in the field, write $10,000 a week in production, hire 2 or 3 people, or if you have a spouse, get them in the business. That's a dangerous one for some people too, right?
That's a dangerous one for all people.
Hire someone that can do the things that you're not good at doing, or that you don't want to do, or that are not yielding the result that you need it to yield, right?
This is terrible advice for an MLM.
And then take the time to train those people to be you, to be better than you. And then, you can fund all of that nowadays just by sitting in your house on Zoom meetings, helping clients.
Oh, well, that sounds really easy. All you have to do is just earn $10,000.
I don't know if it sounds profound to you guys or if it sounds fairly basic. It sounds kind of basic, but maybe,
It sounds extremely basic. You know what else sounds basic? Being the defendant currently in a lawsuit alleging that Symmetry Financial Group has been using an automated telephone dialing system to solicit people for sales calls in violation of the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. Allegedly, that lawsuit is currently pending, but that's trashy.
Maybe it's not, and maybe we need to talk about it more, because
I think it's basic in terms of how we kind of teach with Symmetry and how we teach the leadership. This part is not basic, even though it should be. It's not basic because it hasn't been taught.
Yeah.
So
I think it's basic in terms of trashy.
people don't really, it starts with understanding this, and then you can kind of build out all of your systems, all of your processes around how do I get to where I'm really wanting to go. And talk to your directs, talk to your managers, and
they know how to do it.
Stay in the arena is what I would say. Because the easiest thing that you can do as a leader is not start doing a lot of different things. It's you do the things that we've talked about. You teach other people that you hire how to do certain things, and then you lead by example. That's it. You're making money. You're leading by example. Watch your people start trying to chase you if you're staying at $10,000 a week in production, right?
Yep, that's it.
Or if you're recruiting 20 people a month, right?
Recruiting 20 people. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So when are you going to have that time freedom?
That's the best kind of leadership and teaching that you can do.
It's so true. And one last little thought on this too. Time management is not, when you think about how your brain goes about things, there's the logical side of time management. Then there's the emotional side that I think is often overlooked.
Oh, that's a good point.
And how important energy is and energy management is. Which is why when Brandon was when you were talking about, making sure that you put things in your schedule that are non-negotiable, that are for you.
Yes.
Like I'll go crazy if I don't get to ride my bike.
Absolutely.
Some people go crazy if they don't hit the gym, or they go crazy if they don't get to do, what it is that kind of fills their cup. And I think we live in a world where that's often just kind of under respected. Like the ability to recharge.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, you're the one calling it an excuse when someone needs any time off.
Absolutely.
There's so many companies out there that, yeah.
You know, it's frowned upon.
The last company we worked for,
absolutely.
Like, you get made fun of for taking a vacation.
Well, the messaging for some reason now has to be how busy you are all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and I tell you this, I see more relationships ruined. Yep. I see more health situations declining because people feel like they have to be proving their worth every day by how busy they are.
Yep.
I guarantee you an MLM is not the way to fix that, because you're going to be on your phone all the time.
Like, it shouldn't be about, and you hear people all the time say, well, I'll never get outworked. I can outwork anybody. That's great. I think that's a great quality to have.
That's a terrible quality to have.
But if that's your philosophy for a couple of years in a row, you know what that's going to create? You're going to get burned out pretty quick, because you don't need to be the person that's always outworking everyone. You need to systematize things so that you can actually enjoy the fruits of your labor. And what
I mean, I would say that if there's some expectation for you to do that, to be working that many hours, you probably either you are doing the work of more than one person, which is a problem, or you're doing things that you don't need to do.
What that work is actually going to create. So whenever I hear people, you know, kind of talk about how busy they are, and it's usually not with Symmetry, it's friends or it's other.
Sir, you're on video. We could see that.
People. I think there's value in being busy. We're all busy. There's good things, but what are you busy doing? Because you know what? You got to be intentional to work on your relationships. You know, if you want a healthy marriage, then you should probably work on those things. And that doesn't just happen, right? If you want to be a good father, you got to schedule those things in, because it.
Yeah. Jesus God Almighty. You're the one that's expecting them to not take any days off.
It doesn't just happen. If you want to be a healthy individual, emotionally, physically, you better schedule those things in, because they're not going to just happen. And then what will happen if you're not intentional about all those things is you'll be very successfully financially, and then one day you'll look around and you got nobody to share it with. No family, no health. You haven't enjoyed it. What is that really worth?
You might not even have the finances there. See, it's once again, these MLMs, they're always full of contradictions. It's always, you're working too much. Oh, now you're working too little. Now you're not doing the work. You're doing too much work. You're not making time for yourself. You're making excuses. It's always contradictions. They're always talking out both sides of their mouths.
That's why you got to move from S to B to I, and that's what Symmetry is.
That's right. It's about protecting that. It's about protecting your time and your energy. You know, and man, how are you showing up for people? And in a people business like this, if there ever was a people business, we're in it, right?
That's right.
Between the amount of people we sit in front of to help them with insurance, the amount of people we're bringing on board with this company, it is a people business, and you gotta.
Yeah, it's a people business. You buy and sell people.
Energy management is probably as important as time management. So.
Good stuff. Good breakdown.
On time management.
Oh, I think I grew up.
Yeah, let's talk about maybe why time has been such an important topic of Symmetry.
Well, you know, I grew up, thankfully, with my mother beating some things into my head.
These little shower shower caps, I realized that it had pretty good elastic, and so I started putting it over a bowl, or I just thought it was real quick and real easy.
It's pretty genius.
I like it. It's reusable.
Because saran wrap is so annoying.
I just got this little thing right over the plate. I didn't have to change it. I didn't have to change it into a gallon bag type thing.
Well, you got to show it to us. Hold it up so we can see it.
Now that's just paper towel. It's got a pretty plate.
Oh, look at there. Oh, it is a pretty plate.
Man,
Yeah.
time and money right there.
We'll have to get some
What the fuck?
more flow hacks.
She's got a bank of them.
Oh, she's got a whole bank of them. This started with you came over for dinner, I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago, and Flo was there, and
we started going, man.
As Flo is known to do, she had a few flotinis, and we started grilling her on like time and money and flow hacks, and man, she just started
got some good ones.
She started spitting them out. I know that some people are going to be concerned about the shower cap thing. I will say that she does not use the shower caps on her hair and then use those again for the food.
There comes a point where you can be too efficient.
You can be too efficient, that's it. But I remember her saying, oh.
How is that efficient at all? I'm sorry, but I don't see how that's efficient. I don't see it. It doesn't take that long to put something into a glass thing with a lid. It just doesn't.
Oh yeah, you can get these. You can get 15 of these if you're lucky. Usually 10 of these at the dollar store.
For $1?
For $1, you can get 10 of them, and
that's a steal. I mean, it's definitely a good deal.
But then you're throwing away a bunch of single-use plastic.
If you're lucky, you can find 15. Who wants to use saran wrap? I don't know who invented that, but I want to punch them every time.
Well, not just the saran wrap, the box that it comes in and how you tear it.
Oh, you always break the end of the box, and you have to tear the stuff off.
The irony of talking about time management when you have the audacity to do this, then don't use saran wrap. I don't use it. Use something that locks and is airtight. Jesus Christ.
But a shower cap.
It's so easy.
It's genius.
You know what else is genius?
Thank us later, guys.
You know what else is genius about a shower cap is that, and I don't think we talked about this on the hack, you can actually see the leftover.
That was an important component.
Yes.
Flo explains that.
Right, which you can't do with saran wrap or a glass container.
That too, which is such a pain to go to your fridge and not know what's under that leftover that you had the night before that. I don't know what's in there. It's a mystery. I don't want to get it out and open it up and be like, no, I didn't want that.
Maybe it's been there for a few weeks.
I was looking for the pizza. Yeah. With the shower cap, you see what's in there.
There's the pizza right there. I can see that.
Flo.
Oh, that's great.
So good. Flo. We're going to bring more Flo hacks, hopefully.
So they would be your fearless leaders at Symmetry Financial Group. I mean, at least I can cook in my Pyrex snapware. Jesus, God Almighty, God help us all. We'll be looking more into this company as well. This company and Healy are on my shit list now. They're on my shit list. All right. Check out Outfit. I've been Mac. Peace out. Bye.